Oh, hello again. This is Enthusiastic Steve with another lockdown haircut, long overdue. But welcome back to the channel. I've been a little bit quiet recently due to the lockdown rules and regulations, but it doesn't mean I've lost any enthusiasm for the hobby of radio. Going on behind me, where I'm playing some digital modes at the moment. I'm just about to take part in a 4-meter net, and I'm going to look at analogue scanning this morning as well. Is it dead? Far from it, I think you're going to find. And also, I've got a little product here. Not going to do a full review of it today, but a Malachite, a little SDR receiver, and I just want to show you the positive side of this and a little word of caution if you're thinking about buying one. I don't want you being disappointed. So that's what you've got to look forward to in this little video coming up. So welcome to Enthusiastic Steve. Now, as the time's approaching 9 o'clock in the morning here, there is a local, very active 4-meter, 70 megahertz amateur radio net. And that's just about to start on here, and I've got the Anytone radio. I've got it set on low power, 10 watts, and it's connected to a Hawkins 5/8 plus SSD, I believe it's called, vertical antenna, which is up about 42 feet at the moment. So we'll see who calls in. They normally call in on 450, and then they move on to another channel to hold the net. Some days there's half a dozen people, some days there's over 20 people on the net. So we'll give a quick shout, quick call in, have a little, get involved. 4 meters, the same. A lot of people say it's a dead channel. A lot of people own 4-meter radios, especially with the new handhelds that's come out recently. The updated 2-meter, 4-meter Wooks and handhelds. Thousands of those have been sold allegedly. So there are people out there with 4-meter capability. Anyway, the net will be starting shortly. So we're keeping our out and we'll get involved. CQ4, 4-meter net calling in, G0 GFD, give them a call. G0 GFD, this is Mike Sits, Whiskey Victor Victor. Good morning to you, Keith.
Good morning, Steve, M6WVV.
There you go, in the net.
Anybody else wish to join in?
They're quiet at the moment, normally there's a big call in. Yeah, a few stations calling in. One's down in Swanage, which is 43 miles away from this location.
So I've now got M6WVV, G3WIE, 280WDR. Anybody else? G0 GFD.
A few weaker stations out in the sticks.
Anybody else? G0 GFD. G1JRU. Good morning. G1JRU. Anybody else?
And then we'll QS. And we'll go 475. There we go. So I'll just adjust the frequency on the radio. There we go. And then we'll get called into the net. And we'll have a quick over. There we go. G0 GFD. Good morning to you, Keith. This is Mike Sits, Whiskey Victor Victor, and good morning to the other gentlemen there who joined in the net. Fine, pleasant morning here this morning down in on the northeast side of Fareham. A little bit overcast because the fog is clearing, but it's not bad at all. I'm going to play on radios this morning. I'm going to make myself another Enthusiastic Steve add-on video this morning, as I've not done one for a while. And we're going to have a little play with the scanner and a little bit of whisper and a few other things today. So this is Mike Sits, Whiskey Victor Victor to G0 GFD. There we go.
The other thing I've been messing around with, I've now got a 50-foot mast.
50 foot? That's a fair old size mast.
A number of complications. It's telescopic, the thing is heavy, and I've got to make some new bracketry to hold the thing, because the bottom section is round about 2.5 inches diameter, so it's a big
That's a good old mast.
Right, round Euro 5 and 9 plus 10 dB with me this morning.
Absolutely fantastic. There you go, 10 watts.
Right, round to Chris, G3WIE.
And he's a few miles away.
G0 GST on the group G3WIE. Good morning, all.
So the net will continue, and we're dabbling in and out as that goes. I won't bore you with all the details of the net. And in a minute we'll come back and we'll look again at something else on the desk. So moving along from the 4 meter net, we're going to scan across the desk, no pun intended, past the Ascon 4 meter radio, past my 2 meter 77s, past my old faithful Radio Shack scanner, onto a Uniden UBC 125XLT handheld analog scanner. Now, this scanner is my home base at the moment. It's connected to an external discone antenna, and people keep saying, is analog dead? Well, I'm hopefully going to prove to you it's far from dead. If you've got an old scanner, be it an old Radio Shack one or a Uniden or something more modern, plug it into an aerial and try it. You'll be surprised what you can hear. And no, you cannot hear emergency services as such, because they've all gone over to digital formats and all encrypted. So that's always the question I get asked. Can you listen to the police? Can you listen to the fire brigade? Well, you can actually still listen to some of those services, but not the direct ones you think you can hear. But anyway, today we're going to look at what's on analog. Is it still alive? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the Uniden 125XLT scanner into scan mode. I've got quite a few memories already in store, and we're just going to scan through the memories this morning, and just to show you that analog is far from dead. Now I've put a little bit of black tape over the end frequency, but you can see what band it's on. That one there is air-to-air gliders. They're unofficial 449 megahertz. It's in that band there. So if you are interested in scanning, you can probably go and find these frequencies yourself, and they are publicly available, most of these on the internet. I've covered over the last few for privacy reasons. So this is the Uniden handheld scanner. It's just connected to a discone antenna, quite a long length of coax. So I'm probably a little bit lost there. And I've got an external speaker just connected off screen, not the SP150 realistic you can see in the actual shot. So I'm just going to set it to scan, and I'll just at random and just see if there's any activity this morning. Here we go. That's actually coming in from France across the channel, 60 odd miles away.
Kilo Oscar Kilo.
Aircraft.
Kilo Oscar Kilo, strict 67.
QHM, the control of the harbour. All gone very quiet as normal when you put a camera onto the radio. So that was a little bit successful and a little bit unsuccessful. There were some stations on there this morning, but to give you we'll come back to that in a minute. But the analog is far from dead. Unfortunately here I don't live too far from the coast, and I'm picking up a lot of the marine traffic between Portsmouth, Southampton and all around the Solent. And as you heard there, with the conditions a little bit of lift there this morning, I'm hearing some stations coming over from northern France as well, some of the harbour control stations. What else can you hear? Well, there are still analog taxis out there. There are things like vets, mobile vets. They use extensively two-way communications. There's lorries, transport systems. They use the net as well around here. Still analog. Aircraft, of course, your local airports, your flyovers, and military. Military is still all on analog as well, and you can pick those up with a discone antenna, probably up to about 200 miles away when they're up high up. So not to be ruled out. Very useful if you're using an online internet radar, so you can see where the aircraft are with their call signs. And it's interesting when you hear them come up on the actual scanner, you know where they are. But analog is far from dead. Of course, there's CB radio on there. It's still fairly active, especially around these parts. Lots of 2 meter repeaters, 4 meter activity, 77s repeaters, all mainly in analog. So you can still all be picked up. So give it a go. If you've got an old scanner, an analog, get it back out, have a play. Even on the rubber duck antenna, you'll be surprised at what you can still pick up. It's just looking in the right areas. We'll give that go another go, a quick little scan round and see what else comes up this morning. Right, let's just revisit the old Uniden scanner. We'll put it in the mode there, so we've got a few minutes have passed. Let's see if there's any more activity. We've got shipping. Some maintenance somewhere.
Yeah, received. Thanks for letting me know. G0JAR.
Hubnet, about 9 miles away. Hubnet repeater, that is. Maintenance at a power station.
Do you want us to crack it a little bit? I think we might just go around the other valve, to be honest. If you want to...
Level 240 direct to Strombo, airport Moscow, Charlie Mike.
Local aircraft.
I love you, I really do. Oh.
He loves him. There you go.
Fine.
Just keep going through in case the air just pops up. But as you can see, there's stopping on lots of channels there. They're not just birdies; they're actually active channels.
Chris can't hear you at all. So
And that's the 4 meter net we've just been listening to on the other radio. So
let's try Glitton. Something strange happening here as well because he's much stronger than he normally is. M6.
So the discone that this is actually attached to, though the discone, it's quite a small piece of metal in the sky. It works across a very broad band,
I'm not going to say any more.
as it's designed to do. It's very good on the airband, it's very good on 2 meters, and it's very good on marine band. And it's
That's a hook, thank you.
and it's fairly good on down to 4 meters and down to 6 meters as well. Not as good up on UHF, but it's still picking up many UHF stations out to about 12-15 miles away. Tugs in the Portsmouth Harbour working. Anyway, that's just to prove analog stations are there. Analog scanning is far from dead. So if you've got a scanner, I would encourage you, get it out, have a play. Now, whilst we've had the scanner on and we've been listening to the 4 meter net, I've also been doing Whisper, WSPR. Now, WSPR is, for those who are unaware of it, is a digital mode. It's for testing propagation. HF, you can send out a very small narrow band signal. I'm running 5 watts out of a delta loop antenna, and I'm sending out little bursts of digital data. These go out into the atmosphere and they land and get received, say, by other stations around the world. And once that station's received it, it actually puts a report onto the internet, which allows you then on a map to plot where your signals have been received and their strength, etc. This way you can see where in each band, what band is more active than others, and for any given time of day or type of antenna, see where your signal is actually going to. So this has been running for a little while this morning. I've run it on 20 meters and 40 meters, both at just 5 watts output, and that's leaving the radio. Not, the amount of power that's going out through the coax and leaving the antenna is probably considerably less than that. So on the screen, I haven't refreshed the screen yet. This is the map this morning of the world. I'm going to click, use the pointer, move the pointer over and do search, and this will bring up from my call sign where my signals have gone in the last hour. So let's have a go. Let's see where 5 watts have gone to this morning. Clicking it, and there you go. You can zoom in a bit on that one actually. We'll just zoom in and see where we got to. Well, there we go. We're right across Europe. Iceland, Sweden, out into Russia, down to Israel, the islands off of Africa there. We've gone across to America and all the way down to Brazil. Some 9,431 kilometres, all on 5 watts of power. So there you go. Now as the day goes on and you've got the grey lines approaching and moving around, you've got the sunset, sunrise grey lines, you will see the propagation change. You will see the 7 meters become short, 7 megahertz band become shorter, and the higher bands such as 14 megahertz actually increase in range. So very interesting tool to use, very useful if you're going to do voice sideband, because you can see where your signals will end up. So there you go, Whisper. You're on low power or any, you've got low power options. It's a brilliant tool. Yesterday at this time I was actually getting across to Japan, Tasmania and Australia. Today it's more America. So probably conditions have changed since yesterday. That's Whisper. And for those wondering about my Whisper setup, here I have I've got me Zugi G90, my old faithful. So this is my mobile unit now, but as we're not in lockdown, can't go out, I've left it in here for the winter. This is my home base antenna radio now, which was originally my mobile one. You've seen it in a few other videos. This is now set up for digital modes. Now, I'm using a interface unit, which is made by G3LIV. Very nice little unit indeed, very well made, not that expensive. That interfaces with my computer. We've got one of the Whisper modes here on 14 megahertz, and as you can see at the moment down here, I'm running at 5 watts of power, just 5 watts of power coming out there in transmit mode. So there we go. It's just about to stop there. Yeah, clicks away back into receive mode, and it's receiving stations now on Whisper as well. So we've got the actual screen here. Scroll up if we can see that. We're using the WSJTX software, which is quite common. So there we go. We've got monitor mode going on there. And I squeeze me a little squeaky tripod back, and there you can see the screen. I can do a quick refresh on there, but I don't think we've got any more stations coming through at the moment, because I don't think I've done a transmit since. No, got the same ones on there. Shame we're not getting to Australia yet or Japan, but time will tell, and conditions will change. So that's Whisper. Right, we continue a little bit with the 4 meter net. They're discussing a few little things at the moment. Different subjects come up every day, and I believe I'm just about to be called back in, and I'm going to discuss with Keith about his new mast, and he's playing around with mobile antennas on his car, which I had very good success with using a 3/4 wave this week. Let's see where we are on the net now.
That's taken 23 minutes to go through once. So anybody else like to join in there? G0GFT.
See, 4 meters is far from dead. It's a very popular band. That's me. G0GFD and everybody else who's joined the group since the last time. This is Mike Sits Whiskey Victor Victor. Very interesting subjects there. You are a very early person there, Ted, with LEDs. 10 years ago, they must have been just coming out. Let's see, your mast, Keith, very interested. I've actually got the 30-foot version of that mast you mentioned, the fiberglass one with the plastic clamps that go around it. Those clamps work very well. Just make sure they're you can adjust them for tightness, and once you've got them set about right, they work wonderful. Be very wary, I would say be very wary with the, now you've got a larger mast using those exhaust clamps on their own. I would always put something between the metal and the fiberglass poles, because it does apply a lot of pressure to a very small point, and you can crack the fiberglass with the strain. What I normally do with mine is I've got some thicker plastic pipe. I slice the pipe down, so I've got like thirds of like the curve, and I then slot those in underneath between the fiberglass pole and the metal bracket. That way it spreads the load onto the actual fiberglass, and it doesn't impact immediately straight into the casing itself, because you could actually, unfortunately, a bit of wind strain, it could actually cause a crack just there. As far as your mobile antenna systems go, playing around, brilliant. You've got some very good VSWR levels there from the sounds of it. I'll say I was very impressed using the telescopic whip the other day on top of my car, set to 3/4 wave for 4 meters. And I've got a theory. I've got a very quick theory on that. Now, in general, this is a generalization. The RF lobe pattern for a 3/4 wave, it tends to give a relatively low RF lobe, but not as much gain as a 5/8 at ground or just above ground level. But it does give a superior gain about 40 to 50 odd degrees up. Now you might say, well, how does that work with, I'm not talking about skip here, I'm just talking about point-to-point communications. Well, I think stations up to 10 or 12 miles away, the 3/4 wave has got a sufficient gain to pull all stations in, no problem whatsoever. Once you get over 12 miles, of course, you've got to take in the curve of the earth. Now, so for instance, like Steve down in Swanage and Glenn, they're both over the curvature of the earth as far as from my location. Their signals come out from their antennas in a relatively low angle, straight line. They're going up. As far as my perspective here is, they are actually climbing as they approach me. Those signals, when they come to me, are not coming from ground level. They're spreading out downwards. And those signals come down from the sky, probably 40 to 50 degrees, where the highest gain is. So that's probably why I think the 3/4 wave antenna on my car was working almost as well as the home base antenna I've got up on the mast. So that's one of my theories. I'm not sure if the science actually would agree with that, but that's the theory I've got here. Anyway, this is Mike 6 Whiskey Victor Victor to G0 GFD. Okay, little theory there, enthusiastic Steve theory. And it's probably helped Keith out with his mast, or anybody putting a fiberglass mast up. If you're supporting it, don't put the bracket straight onto the fiberglass pole, because you can crush it, you can push it out of shape. But if you just spread the load a little bit, it will help a tremendous amount into protecting that mast. As I said at the start of the video, I've got a little toy. It's called a Malachite. Now, some of you may have heard of a Malachite before, and so I'm not going to give you a full review of this, because there are many videos out there on the Malachite, and there are many versions of the Malachite too. This one's got the larger control knobs on it, and on the back it's got the nice built-in speakers. This is my own antenna. I've just used it for indoor purposes at the moment. Comes with a little telescopic antenna, and the idea is, the thing about this is an SDR radio. It's basically, imagine an SDR play or any SDR receiver with a inbuilt little screen. This is there, focusing on it, trying to get it to focus. There we go, light up the screen a little bit brighter. And it's tunable. It's got a little waterfall display. I mean, it's not picking nothing much up yet because it's only on this little antenna. This one covers a widespread. It's right down in the medium wave up to about 200 megahertz. Now, let me give you a quick brief on what Malachite is all about. Malachite was a Russian designed radio SDR receiver. This is a Chinese clone. Majority of them now out there on the market, if you go on the internet, are Chinese clones. You need to be aware of that. What you need is the proper firmware to run this correctly. Now, you have to, when you buy this from China, it will come with generally comes with demo software or demo firmware. What you need to do then is apply and buy online, and it costs about $50 odd, I believe, the full firmware to give full functionality. You have got menus on this thing, and it does various things, but you are limited in what you can do. You can adjust thresholds and gains, etc., like that. Now, I will play you some video clips in a minute. The audio quality, you're going to go, is amazing, but don't be fooled. This is far from a fully finished professional receiver, unfortunately. It takes a little bit of playing around. You can very easily overload it and confuse the SDR radio with overloaded modulation. RF signals too strong. But if you get it tweaked just right, get the RF gain just right, it works a treat. And I will demonstrate that shortly with some of the audio quality. So yeah, worthwhile considering. You can buy these in kit form for $20 or $30, or you can have them fully built for about 100. This one cost me £100 and a few pounds for postage. Came here, got here within 5 days from China. Very pleased with it indeed. Takes a little bit of playing around, but ideal if you're going to sit outside an airport and listen to air traffic, or connect it to a discone or something and then listen to some of the other bits of traffic that's out there. It's nowhere near a scanner. It's nowhere near the quality of an SDR play, but with a little bit of perseverance, it is very good. I'll show you some video of the actual audio clips.
11 knots. Cavalcade, temperature 12, dew point 6, QNH 1023. Keflavik, Metroport, Keflavik at 1730 Zulu, wind.
What was it, the step IR, but I think it was up at sort of 80 feet, DB36 step IR, and the verticals and everything. But I've got down here, it was just that you've probably worked him, and he was always quite good. He used to work remote from his Auckland apartment on the...
Thanks very much for calling in. All the best to you and your family over there in the Netherlands. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good weekend. We'll see you further down the log. Papa Alpha 3 Golf X-Ray, X-Ray, Germany, Mike 8 Ocean, Florida, Quebec. 73 on day, bye-bye.
I'm using a different radio from when he used to come on regularly, so it's all a bit subjective. But it's very acceptable signal from you, Dave, so well done indeed. Right, that's the end of the list. Would anyone like to join us this morning? This is G3XUX standing by.
Cleared for the VOR approach, runway 02, I report beacon outbound, and revised minimums, I will not descend below 500 feet, 5 Julie come.
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, another mode that is not completely dead, though a lot of people say it is let's just call it citizen band radio, CB. Yeah, some people that's a swear word, but CB radio has been going for many years here in the UK. It was legalised in 1981, and before that many sets were imported AM and sideband radios from America. The likes of films like Smokey and the Bandit and Convoy stirred a massive amount of interest in the 70s with CB radio. Thousands were sold, tens of thousands were illegally imported into the country, and people had them on their cars and their home bases. And at the time, say British Telecoms, which was now Ofcom, the radio authority, used to chase people down for causing interference. Eventually, under pressure, they decided to license it and created the UK FM band as we know it today. So things have moved on, and sideband was eventually legalised again a few years back, and there are now many radios on the market which either just do the UK FM channels, 40 channels, or cover the American, like the mids, European frequencies, and a sideband as well. Here we have a Superstar 3900. To me, this is one of the really nice looking radios. I used to love the Cobra 148. Anybody who knows anything about CB radios, Cobra 148 was the one to have at the time. And it looked very, very much like this radio. Nice bit of chrome on it, black fascia. This one's got a blue neon display. Most of the 3900s have a red display. So this is one of the more unusual ones, one of the rarer ones. Now this was actually given to me by a very kind amateur radio user locally. He couldn't get on with it because it doesn't have a frequency control, and also whoever ever had it before hadn't done a proper job internally, because this is a standard mid 40 channel radio as standard. But as you can see on the actual controls down here, we've got A, B, C, D, F, E and tune and switch there, which are multi-band. So this is a multi-band radio, but to initiate that you had to go internally inside the radio and change over one of the plugs. The plug had been changed, but unfortunately it wasn't pushed on the connector correctly. So the radio was doing all types of strange things, and it was on low power, about 1 watt. Now it's about a 8 watt FM radio and 12 watts on sideband, with frequency range from the low 28.3 megs, I believe, in the 10 meter band, and it goes back down to about low end of 26 megs. So it covers all the mids, the UK FM channels as well. You can actually tune them in using the clarifier control knob there, which you have to set at 9 o'clock position if you're on the UK FM, and that tunes between the frequencies. So it does work. Beautiful radio, a lovely bit of kit. Unfortunately, there's no skip on it at the moment. There's no skip. The atmosphere is a bit quiet on 10 and 11 meters, but I've used this very successfully when a skip has been coming in. So one of my favourite little radios. I also have another CRT radio which I use for mobile, which hopefully very soon we'll be able to get out and about after this second lockdown here in the UK, and what a lot of people around the world are still experiencing. So things are looking brighter, things are improving. We're trying to remain enthusiastic. Radio bands are far from dead, as I said, so get out whatever you got out of the cupboard, have a play, plug it back in, see what it goes like. If it's a scanner, a shortwave, a CB radio, whatever you're using, just get the radio and have a talk to somebody. It's a fun, interesting subject, and as you can see from this morning, we talked about Mast on the 4 meter net. We've talked about antennas. We've been playing around making antennas out of a bit of wire and things like this. So the 5 watts going down to Brazil, that's from a homemade Delta loop antenna. Hardly cost anything. That's the 4:1 balun, a bit of coax, and a length of wire. Measured it, cut it, suspend it up on a bit of a fiberglass mast at one end, spread it across the garden. 5 watts into Brazil. Absolutely fantastic. And so yesterday it was Australia, Tasmania and Japan. So can't ask for more than that. So there you go. CB radio, an option. And before I round up the Enthusiastic Steve video today, I just thought I'd pop out into the garden and show the disco antenna and the 5/8 wave 4 meter antenna that I'm actually using at the moment. So what I'm using, I've got a 30-foot fiberglass telescopic pole or mast. On top of that, I've got a small aluminium extension with a fiberglass top section. Now up there you can see a disco antenna giving very, very good results, surprisingly good results. They're not normally that resonant. They normally give a high VSWR of about 2 or 2.5 to 1, but on 2 meters it pulls in a very good signal, and the VSWR is 1 to 1.2. I don't know if it's to do with the fact the aluminium pole under it or whatever, but it is working extremely well. Above that, the black section is a fiberglass pole, and on there I have the Hawkins 5/8 wave 4 meter antenna. So that's getting me down to, as a strength 7, down to Swanage, which is 42 miles away on 4 meters FM. Very happy indeed. What you can see there, I've got a couple of lightweight guidelines. Any winds up above 40-50 mile an hour, I'll bring the mast down or lower it right down to a lower height, but no problem at all. 20-30 mile an hour winds, I leave it up. And the other wires you can see there, one of those is one of the legs of the Delta loop coming across from a mast behind me. So there you go, that's Enthusiastic Steve antennas, listening to what you've heard this morning. So I wish you all the very best. So until the next time, and hopefully it won't be as long next time, and hopefully I'll have a haircut by then, Enthusiastic Steve lockdown haircut too. So all the very best, play radio, talk to people, have fun, and remain enthusiastic. 73s and stay safe.